Shorter. So this is thanks, Mike. Okay. She said we're good.
Says is recording.
Yeah, just said we're good.
Yeah. Yeah, so these, this is what they can just allow for me to agree on.
Hey, good morning.
So that would,
Yeah, so these were there. Yeah, you see your name.
yeah,
Okay.
right. Right. Oh, I would have loved that. There's a. It looks like Wednesday. Wednesday or Friday.
Yes, we do. Couple people might show up. Go, yeah. Are we good over there, Greg?
We're good.
Okay, good morning, everybody. This is meeting of the urban design period plan, the regular meeting. Today is March 29th, 2024. First, we will approve the minutes of January 26th. And I ask for a motion to approve. So moved. Thank you. Second, thank you, Maria. All in favor, say yes. One opposed. Good and 18 minutes are approved. Now, second, we are going to review two projects today. The first is Buckner Station POD. The second is Lake June Station POD. I ask that Arturo introduce us to the first project, which is Buckner Station.
Thank you, and good morning, everybody. As a reminder, it's been a couple months since we've been in this room. It doesn't have the greatest audio. We are trying to capture it on for WebEx, so if you can all speak up, it's helpful. The speakers are going to do a job, or not the best job. Our first project that we'll review, or you guys will be reviewing this morning, will be the second of 5 different CRD projects that will come to you. In partnership with DART. This project team, as with our 4 others, were challenged with bringing maximum public benefit, including increasing DART ridership, improving new housing options, and new amenities for residents, transit users, and the surrounding communities. Primary design considerations for Buckner Station include maximizing the use and benefit of transit adjacency through thoughtful design and arrangement of residential and support uses. There's a real opportunity here to better connect adjacent communities to transit for an iconic, comfortable, and safe central pedestrian spine. Buckner and Elon Road frontages should be engaged to welcome pedestrians also, but in this case with a building envelope of public space design that responds to the challenge related to planning busy roads and the goal of concealing parking from public view. It's been also a while since we've sat down and looked at one of these 2 projects in this program that the city and DART are working on. So I wanted to bring up Kevin again, just to give you a refresher on what this program is supposed to do, and then we can introduce the design team.
Right. Good morning, panel members. I'm Kevin Spatt, Assistant Director of the Office of Economic Development. Just to give a quick refresher on how we got to today. So during COVID, the city and several council members issued a challenge to the city staff, known as the 1,000-unit housing challenge. Phase 1 was city-owned properties near DART stations. Phase 2 is DART-owned station properties near DART stations. We executed MOUs with DART in, well, a little over 2 years ago, December of 2021. And then we coordinated with DART to prepare requests for proposals for 6 stations. Those went out on the street in gotta remember, September of 22. Then 9 months later, selected proposers were identified based on that process, and then June of last year, the city council actually approved formally the selection of proposers for each station. Then in August of 23, we entered into exclusive negotiation agreements with each of those developers. And so from August of 23, for about a 2-year process, we will be in exclusive negotiation period. And in that time, we've already been 7 months into this. We are working through all of the details, like how to finalize a site plan, how to finalize a pro forma, how to finalize financing, how to finalize, get through rezoning. All of these would require rezoning. So all the stuff, the detailed work that will be required to get to a point where we can present a development agreement, a lease agreement, all the formal documents that need to be approved both by the city council and by the DART board. That's what we're doing now. So I would say, I would characterize the proposals that as they were initially proposed and selected were probably also the Volkswagen level, concepts. We've been working internally for the last 3 or 4 months to try and get each of these to maybe a Mercedes. But keeping in mind that we have market conditions, we have challenges with financing. This is going to be hard, just like we saw with the Royal Lake Station back in December. There are things that would be, nice to have or really cool to have, but they have implications that are a ripple effect on cost and the ability to get that financed and built. So I just want to keep that, out there and in mind. So I want to encourage you to be thoughtful and creative and try to help these projects get to a point where they can get to a concept that we can all agree on that's maximized public benefit, but is actually realistically something we can finance and get built. So thank you very much. Any questions? Yeah.
Yes, a quick question, if you don't mind, not spending too much time on it, but just highlighting some of the challenges that might have been brought up in the last session, that are problems with being built. I remember we talked about making some of this mixed use and, things like that.
Yeah.
Or is there just a quick list of things we
Well,
should keep in mind?
Not every location is even remotely ready for retail. So a lot of the projects you'll see are just not prepared. Maybe they'll have a ground floor space that is ready for retail at some point in the future when the market ripens for that. But it may be problematic to force ground floor retail at this point in time. There's also parking challenges. DART has an expectation that, and I think the two you'll hear today have, Buckner has almost 500 spaces out there. Lake June has 434. DART has an expectation that that these projects will retain or replace their average usage pre-COVID, which was in the 25 to 30% range. So DART needs to have some transit serving parking that doesn't complicate folks that aren't living there, who may be driving there, parking all day and using the station. So that is a complicating factor. So you'll see in some of these where the developer is proposing to leave certain surface spaces untouched, and that is very purposeful. Because either DART thinks it's just leave it alone, it's too expensive to try or the offset of developing that little space doesn't make any financial sense, to replace it. So we've got those challenges too for parking. I would say, the city zoning staff is here, and they've been a part of these internal conversations for several months, and they are very progressively pushing for reduced parking requirements. But what DART expects and what the developer needs are other conversations. So blending everybody's needs and wants into this is really complicated. And then how do we pay for it?
Thank you.
And with that, we'll introduce Mark Olson, who will walk you through the design of this project.
Good morning. My name is Mark Olson. And, my firm is Arrive Architecture. I have Brian Murtry with me this morning. It's one of our architects, Jen, who does our renderings, who's amazing, and Miguel, who's an amazing designer, and Matt Solis with the zoning. So here. So, we're excited about this. Like Kevin said, and I'm sure we've been working since December 22 on this. We're excited to finally get to meet you and see you. So I'd like to walk through a few of our process and thoughts getting to this point. We brought some boards just to show I love old school boards, so we're excited about that. Like Kevin said, there were some challenges, and so we met with Arturo and Jennifer and others. Jack has given lots of input from start, and so we have really site plan about number 5 or 6 to show you. But as we've gone through, so we love the area. Again, Buckner is the terminus of the dark green line. The station actually has custom artwork by Leticia Herarta, who I've actually been in contact with, who's semi-retired in San Antonio. And she's giving us a proposal for a piece, but I didn't know how it is, but we're excited about that. So again, Pleasant Grove is an area. Housing peaked in the area in the 1950s, which is actually kind of a pretty interesting graph. So most of the housing is very, very old, 60, 70 years old, kind of a middle income workforce area. Dowtile, which is right here, it's the largest employer in the area. So 800 employees at Dowtile, and we've actually scheduled meetings with Dowtile to talk about maybe some incentives to live here. It's a perfect location for mixed income housing, proximity to DART. It's actually walkable to all the schools in the area. There's an elementary school, a middle school, and a high school. But then there's 2 large grocery stores on Buckner that are walkable. And the site gets a 38 walk score, which is pretty good, you know, overall. If you go there today, which you've probably been there, it's a giant parking lot. People are trying to navigate the parking lot with baby carriages and all kinds of different things. It's a pretty desolate place. And so that station, according to DART's own information, averages 1,500 riders a day. Again, there's 499 spaces in the area, and it's about 30% full on any given day. So we responded to the RFP. A couple of things that we talked about, we're keeping this DART road open for buses. We kind of use that as sort of a defining edge. The DART road and the bus traffic and all would sort of stay the same. And we would sort of operate in this triangle, even though this triangle was kind of needs something, you know, that's kind of where we focused early on, was not interrupting the process of the DART buses coming through. So Palladium won the RFP. Palladium is an international company. We do affordable housing with them all over. They did a Redbird project, and so very high quality. They have the means to get it financed and get it done. So they have a really good track record in that. So from the site, so we're using low-income housing tax credits for this. So there's some matrices that they use to define the limit of cost of construction. So typically, and you may want to turn to the page, the last page of the thing that shows the 4 site plans, which Arturo and I were talking, we thought that was good for you guys to see. So scheme 1 is sort of your typical affordable housing deal. It's terrible, I have to say. 4-story surface parks. That's why it's really kind of, you can drive by and you can tell affordable housing. If you drive around the state of Texas, you can see that that's what it is. So we did hug the streets. We went in for the RP and they challenged us to connect the DART station and do, like Kevin said, move it from the Volkswagen up. So we came up with scheme 2 that sort of cut the site in half and created this sort of promenade that connects you from Buckner Elon intersection down to the DART station. That was really appealing scheme. Again, it was surface parked, so there was very little green space. So we were challenged with site plan number 3 and number 4 to consider doing some structured parking. So we ran a parking garage option, and the parking garage option adds $7 million to the price. So the parking garage option. So we're like, okay, we ran a podium option, which we really love. So that's number 4. Podium deck adds $11 million. So Kevin and his folks came back and said, can we do something more like 7, or maybe even a little less? So we came up with the scheme that we have now, and it's sort of a modified parking garage scheme, and so we really like it. So that's kind of how we got to where we're going. So we talked about, so we kind of came up with what it is now. So again, using the dart road that's intact, we kept that as an edge. We would like to do on-street parking on Elam. Traffic is said, heck, but we're trusting Jennifer and Archie to win that battle for us. We want it at High Point Family on Zang across from the zoo, but they said no parking on Buckner. Absolutely not, it's a safety issue. So we're fine with that. So we decided to do this sort of community room here at the corner of the thing. You can see it kind of has its own little kind of character pop out. That could be a future retail point at some point if it was needed. Right now, the area is very mixed income. There's garages, repair garages. There's a gas station. Just retail is just not even viable. Again, the tax credit program, you don't get any credit for that. You simply pay for that. So we didn't think that was really a good option. So we located our community room there. We did 2 sort of identical garages, and then our club sort of here, 4 stories. As you see from those other schemes, we didn't wrap all the way around the site. So they said, if you could wrap all the way around the site and have no gaps. So that's one thing that we did. And then the best thing about it that we really love is the promenade that comes through the middle. And these are 2-story units that line the promenade. We had called them townhomes, but that's confusing. We're going to call them 2-story units because they're for rental. But so the promenade's a really great place, kind of a pocket park at this corner. The promenade takes you down. There's bike racks. You're walking directly into the station. It's coming through the middle of it, kind of opens up. It did make everything kind of have to be double amenities that we have. 2 playgrounds, 2 dog parks. And so we're really excited about that. But our buildings with this scheme are 4 stories. We didn't want to do 5 stories because of the FAR system that Dallas requires. It's $1 million for the fire recharge system. So $1 million the residents take care of us about. So we kept it 4 stories. Again, 2 stories through the middle. The promenade is great, and I'll talk about that in a second. The pocket park on Buckner is another big thing. We have 304 residential units, 80% are affordable. That's 60% area median income, and 20% are market rate, which we're really excited. We have unconditioned corridors throughout and elevators. The courtyards, now with the parking garage, we have pretty decent courtyards. Not as much as the podium, but they're on ground levels. We can have actual real trees that grow down on the ground. Again, we have a pool, dog parks, sport courts, sort of natural multifamily amenities there. All the ground floor units have access out to the streets all the way around. Elam, they go out Buckner and along the Dart Road. Security is a big deal. Blaine has a deal at Redbird, and security has been difficult with the walk out onto the, with policing that. So we actually are doing kind of a 4-foot low fence around, most you can see of the sections in the second, but to do that. And again, our parking garages are entered here away from the dark buses, and our trash is in that same place. So the elevations, we had, we've kind of gone back and forth with all this. The context of Pleasant Grove is non-existent. So we have driven it, we have Googled it, and we kind of came up with flat roofs and brick, you know? So that's about, and a lot of sort of 1950s sided houses. So there's just not a lot of strong context in the area. So we decided to kind of play off the red brick of the community for security and stability. We decided to use siding to kind of play off that we're using in the houses, even using some color siding to kind of play off some of the neighborhoods. Color as you go, flat roof, simple line, modern design that kind of does it, and then each facade kind of reflects kind of where it's working toward. The promenade is really a great thing, and I'd like to kind of show you that in closer. So we're proposing to do a fountain there. That's the plan. And then the promenade actually connects you. And so what Ryan and Landscape have done is these dots are kind of like a dart map, a station map, which you see if you will. So it's kind of interesting, the sort of feel of that. And the units, sort of the balconies are kind of angular to kind of break up that edge. But again, it takes you straight through. And then this is the piece that we love for Letitia, or our little piece there. It's just, she won't give me a present. So she's also semi-retired, so she doesn't build this up anymore. But we would love to do a piece since she did the Dart Station, 2010. She's amazing, but she's very much an artist. So, so we're scheduled to talk about that. But that's kind of the thought, keep the promenade through the middle, and we're excited about that. Then the street sections are here. You can see everybody's got a balcony and then kind of a patio stoop, and then this 4-foot fence for security. So that would have, even though you jump over it, it still gives you the perception of security, and it would have a lock on it. And so all of them have that. And the ones in the center have a dog park, a yard kind of beyond their patio on the inside. So we're excited about that. We're going to be, because we're going to be National Green Building certified, the bronze level. It's about as good as we can get in this world of affordable housing that's capped, and they want to do 4 stories with surface parking, so we will have that certification on there. And so that's our project. So we're really excited about it. I think we're pushing Palladium, Evan and Arturo have pushed us, and we think it's that. So I think people are aware about it. So thank you.
Anything else, anybody else, anything you'd like to, or if you present
I think that's it. Yeah.
right, well, Mark, thank you. I think you say you.
Okay.
Thanks for introducing us to the project. What we like to do, we like to offer feedback via Institute Bars. We will ask you questions just to clarify anything that was clear from your segment. We will actually cooperate with that, we engage in conversation. So that's the format that we like to observe. But before I do that, I think I said that at the very beginning. If I could, we did a family level volunteers, multi specialty, different kinds of expertise. We have engineers, we have landscape architects, urban designers, planners, architects, historic preservation specialists, and I'm very, very proud of the company of my peers here. We all bring different viewpoints, and our goal is to offer you feedback so that you and your client and your policy can be successful. We don't believe in a win if this means that lose. We don't believe in that. We do believe that everybody can. It's not panacea. It's possible. So that's our goal. So whatever you listen, whatever you take from us today, in mind is for the best interest of the city, of yourself, of your clients. Okay. All right, with that, the first part of our conversation, that any questions, does the panel have any questions for Mark and his team regarding the presentation?
Mark, good morning. I have a question about we've heard a couple of times that retail doesn't work well. We do have the dark population that is going to come out riding from this project every day. We would not think that there's an option for a small cafe and some things that will actually affect people. Either society that we can understand it seems to me that next to a dark space, there should be an opportunity for some retail.
This is the end of the Dart line, so this is where it starts. And when I looked at Jack about speaking, it's better. The ridership was shocking. I was very surprised at how 800 people on a day on a weekend. It's just not that many. I was thinking more people. So yeah, they considered it. I mean, it's really difficult to do. It's difficult to do really with all the matrices that work. Retail is difficult. done retail. And it's gotta have parking, it's gotta have all these things to make it work. And, you know, traffic levels and visibility from the street and all these. I looked at the thing yesterday, it's like this area is still 83% car driven. I mean, it's a car driven. So if you did retail, you want to put it not by the Buckner. You know, then Buckner is just, they won't allow parallel parking, so where you park. Buckner's like a freeway, so it just didn't line up with anything we were doing, you know. And even live work just was difficult to even kind of come up with that concept. And so just didn't, you know, they didn't write the numbers, you know, Allison's team, and they kind of like, it's just such, I mean, we've been out there, but it's really, I mean, we want to be a catalyst for change, but also empty retail. So that's why we kind of came with the community room of saying, okay, this may be like we're going to give the community back something, because there's really no meeting space down there. We could do that, but again, we control that. So it's 1,300 square feet, it has trash, it has parking. If retail were to come, that's where we put it. That's sort of the trade-off, I guess, is what we're trying to do.
Maximum fish rate is something, that's all that though. What we did with the community room that will be available to the public, but also our leasing and clubhouse branded to serve our development, it will still create that sort of retail feel. So you'll still kind of have that element of mixed use where we think it matters most. As sort of a critical mass, non-residential component of the overall.
Yeah, so that's right behind you, that's this white area of that, so we kind of call that clubhouse area, kind of this white.
Yeah.
And then it's sort of storefront underneath, so everything's pushed up to the street, so it makes it feeling that way, you know, I love retail, I'm with you, I want it, I love that, but you know, it's, do you get chicken or the egg, you know, you do it and it's empty or, you know, so that was our newest thought.
More point taken out, I'd like to just add to that. Did you all consider, you said there's 800 employees at that's correct. Yeah. I know there's a little pedestrian crossing.
Yeah, there's a little walkway over to the car station.
If ridership's low now, you're gonna have a residential population. I was at a coffee shop in Houston yesterday that was just absolutely mob, near transit and a hotel and a major employer. I would think that 800 people. I don't know what the crossing would be like, but would they? Great, you'd increase traffic there. It might not be on Buckner, or you're pulling people from downtown, but you've got 800 folks there that could also.
Plus the residents.
Yeah, plus.
Yeah, 500.
I guess that's just my question is as they're being coordinated with downtown, say, you know, what would they like to, what would they want, desire, and how would that then mix with your residential population there? Is that something boy, or is that something you're open to? Is that going to help to keep that?
I know the initial conversations with Downtown were just kind of informational. And they were like, yeah, other part that's for our employees to live there. You know, it's so good spot, and how much easier just to walk to work across the park track, but didn't go beyond that. They didn't have any requests other than that. They were just happy to have housing nearby, so mixed income.
I have a question regarding the frontage to Buckner's, and you mentioned it's going to be a fence both streets. Is that what?
Yes.
Does it mean that the units facing both roads, do they have direct access to those roads, entrance door, or not? Could you please go over?
Yeah, so those sections are here. I know everybody, they're really tiny because everybody who works for me is young and can't see, but yeah, so it's kind of this. So this is their stoop area. They have a little kind of wing wall that comes out. Then there's a 4-foot space for a yard. Then there's the fence that runs right along the side. So you come, and then in this 4-foot area, they'll be collected and then brought out to certain gate points that are locked. That's what we did at Sang, and it worked really well.
So each unit has its own door, or is it a collective?
Each unit has its own door.
Okay.
And then there's a public entrance at each of the center point of the building.
So it's both.
Yeah, so everybody can come.
Understood.
Yes.
Follow-up question. 4 foot from stoop to fence, what's the width from fence to back of curb?
Fence from back of curb is 5 feet approximately. So it's tight. On Buckner, because there's a tree, because we're not doing it, there's 5 feet to fence, then there's about 10 feet. So, so with Buckner we can do parallel there.
Another question. I believe I know the answer to it, just to be clear. Do you call it passeio, the diagonal connector, is that what you call it?
Yeah.
Promenade, I think, it's a promenade. The promenade is open.
Open all the time. Right.
Okay.
So, yeah, so the character of it is sort of open, it's a connection through. I didn't say this in the presentation, we talked about wayfinding signage here and wayfinding signage here, so that you're invited to kind of, that's public space. But yeah, it's a public space going through and,
And units facing the promenade are also, they have an entrance door off the
Right.
promenade.
So they have an entrance door off the promenade here. So they have the same kind of deal, a little fence type yard for security, and then they're back. And then they also have a back door on.
Yes.
So.
You have a section.
Oh, sorry about that. Oh, yeah, here you go. Here's the, thanks, guys. Here's the promenade. So you've got kind of the walkway, you've got this sort of, these are angled, so they're not coming out.
I can see from here, how wide is the promenade?
That's 40 feet, and we have room to go a little bit wider.
And the walking,
The walking is 12 feet. Okay. So that's, the walking has the sort of wayfinding dots, that's the 12 foot area. 12 foot clear all the way through. So we tried meandering it, and it was like super confusing for the other people.
I have one, you had mentioned that the apartments, the units are contiguous and that there are no gaps, you were discouraged from doing gaps. Is that a security question or a budget question?
I think it was just a Also, you put in 2 through 4, whatever your car, that's why, that's why. No, well, they don't have their own, that's the problem, it's kind of their own gate, they all be open, that's the problem. So if you have 50 ground floor units, so what we try to do is to collect it into 1 or 2 gates that we can lodge. They have kind of a central point where not everybody their gates are open. That's.
Okay, what about that 5 feet spaces in front of the building that is shared, where it's not a remark from one building to the next?
No, it's shared, yeah, it's shared on the street. Correct, yeah. Now, the inside units have fencing all the way around, so they have, fencing all the way around, so if they have a pet. Small kids, whatever, yeah, it's shared space.
Both, is yes and yes. Each unit has a door on the street, but that door is behind the fence.
Yeah, I know.
Right, so it's not, each unit doesn't have its own fenced yard. The fenced yard is home, but each unit has a door to that home.
Correct.
Give my feedback once it comes.
Okay. Oh, yes,
Can
other
you
side.
show us where the doors in this blow up at the corner, for example, because I see 3 bedrooms or what, maybe that's a sliding door.
So it's typically a glass door, like a glass door on the patio. And yeah, so it's very similar to that. So you have kind of a glass door, and then they have a patio section, and then there's kind of, which is covered, and then they have kind of a larger section of concrete, maybe even some sort of material that's alternate, the fence, and then the sidewalk, yeah, and planters kind of along there, so.
And my second, another question is the boundaries of on the plan? Because I'm just questioning for that public space that is in the middle of the site, that is the black and redone in any form or fashion to accommodate this or?
It's owned and maintained by the lake. Well, not owned, but it's operated by the lake.
Yeah.
That's how we, so it's not public, it's not city down.
If your question is, will the public areas be secured through public instruments? Yes. Is that your question? Like an easement?
Yeah,
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 I was assuming so.
okay, so that is why I was actually asking for the flag, because typically the definition of that public versus private space is clear.
Yeah.
There will also be 100 legal documents between all parties, so it will be secured.
Another question.
All right, I'm gonna drill down on the fence thing. And, you said all the gates, everybody had gates, they all be open. Given the commonly understood security concerns, why do you think they'd all be open?
Well,
I
I think
look at it, I think it's slow.
yeah, I think it goes down to, if you have, say, on Elam, you've got 2 main gates, and you've got 2 on Buckner, and maybe one, you're down to maybe 8 gates. So we can really buy locks for 8 gates when we're controlling 8 gates. The thought is that you're controlling that versus, 45. I guess it's points of entry to the.
Real quick, why do you think they'd all be open? Would you say?
Well, I think they're more difficult to control, and so they could be, yeah, we're making a.
Then follow-up question to that, don't you have that exact situation in your promenade, that's a public space with all these units
Yeah.
coming directly onto it? You don't have a problem with it there, but you got a problem with it on the main street end?
We're sort of threading the needle here, we're trying to have kind of both ends. Ideally, Palladium would say no ground floor contact out to any, that's the safest way to do it. In terms of liability, in terms of insurance, that's just the reality of building affordable housing in many places. Buckner is a prime example of that. It is, if you go there today, it's a very open area. So the thought is reducing the points of access to the building and being able to control the variables, reducing the variables. So.
All right, we get into the comments, you haven't addressed why it's different in the promenade.
No, I think, no, the promenade is an exception. So what I said was, we're threading the and saying, okay, the promenade's an exception. Can you guys live Palladium with 28 points of entry? if we do it, they're still not thrilled with the operation.
I also think that the promenade is a little bit easier because you have two entrances on either side, right? So you can already protect those two entrances a lot better than, say, you have all the openings around on the outer portion.
Yeah.
So that's our main reason why we feel comfortable with having it be that way on the promenade, whereas then on the public side, where it's a lot more open to everything, that gets a little bit more difficult when it comes down to security issue. However, with 2 points of entrance for that promenade, it's a little bit easier to secure and make sure that area has cameras at all locations.
So good point, you picked up on it, Zach. Yeah, you're right. It's, we're sort of threading the needle here of, we don't want any connection. But yet, we as architects and urban planners want connection. How do we marry on a difficult site, you know, so.
Excellent. If no more questions, I think we can open for feedback, commentary. Very good. Yes. Who would like to go first?
I can go.
Right.
So on this site, reason I asked for the event, I looked at the site plan, it looked like indeed, but it's not shown on the plan. That is at least 3 green spaces that are left in drainage. It almost looks like they're retention basins. You can see it on your last page. But it's a lot of areas of the. Yeah, you look at the very last page. The green spaces, you can see there are contours and rectangles, and I can see. So please confirm whether this is for retention purposes or not. Because if it is for retention purposes, I don't see any area left inside. Okay, so check that part. Second is, I see this utility easement, I'm sure it's for private station use, so it can be any purpose or whatever, but this, I'll check that out too. It doesn't tell me what type of easement it is. To confirm that is the young side. Now, on this first part, the reason I asked the question, why we have to travel sidewalk, but it seems like a waste of space. I have also seen, units where the entrance to the outside units is going straight out, and there is a gate for each unit. And if that resident leaves that gate open, well, then it's on one unit, but there's common green space between 50 units, is actually also, we have small, the same both the plants around it. And actually, if you ask for leaving them, the last one got it, they thought they can get more money because now each tenant keeps like I have a new private job. So that 50 feet is not shared green space, it is bifurcated from each unit. If you do it that way, those mini gates are not access control, you don't need to put a lock on, it's just, I'm leasing that ground floor unit, if there's a problem, just like when I was on the inside, right? You're not putting a gate on each of those. That would be my feedback on that. And other than that, I'm sure you've already done it, but I really like this flexibility to convert the spaces into retail down the road. And I see that other blue color shade, which is your other map, you can also complement that use, so that'll be fantastic. Down the road, you never know if we will probably require that to get there. My main concern is that the reason I'm saying that is that I would like to see if you can eliminate that green space for the 2 sidewalks and add some more green space. If that can happen in your concept, it would be better to push the public sidewalk slightly further away. Because Buckner has very high speed traffic. And it's just the more space we can give them, at a trade-off will be better.
Mark, any feedback, any comment regarding zones?
No, I think those are good comments. Detention, we're going underground, and it's coming. So it hasn't been completely worked out yet, obviously, but Civil's been involved. I like the double sidewalk. I'm open to it, and I mean not doing the double sidewalk.
Yeah.
We're open to. We're even open to the gates. Maybe Alex is hearing you guys' comments.
I don't have to go back and talk.
We'll talk to the higher ups. You know, I like that idea a lot. The extra rent, we're a little bit hamstrung because we can't charge. Yeah. In the affordable program, we can't. every units is flat rate. So, we do have some market units that we could put, but, yeah, we don't get any more money for that. So it's also a thing, yeah. But I do like dividing them up. So we'll definitely consider, I mean, I think that's probably good feedback, so.
And one question, how many spaces are in each of the garages?
180 in each of the garages. So there's 280 and 60. So with the parking count, originally, Jennifer was like, we really want no parking. I was like, well, guys, this is, so I can get to school, can't ride the dark to school. So we battled back and forth, like, came up with that's hard. It's less than what we normally do in a suburban area, but it's feel good about the total.
So what is the ratio for parking?
It's 420 spaces for 304, so it's 1.3 something. So now some of that is shared. The stuff that's outside, the 60 service spaces are shared with DART and with the community. But we have 360 that are dedicated for our folks. So
Those garages will have access control?
yeah, access control, correct. Yeah.
So yeah, single entrance.
Single entrance, right? Entrance here and there.
And on that note, I should address in our report, Gary was telling us before the organization of DART's demands for parking spaces. Have you guys run the numbers? The surface parking spaces that we have here, does it meet DART's expectations? What is it?
Obviously Jack's here, so we've left the range of the 20%. So originally the plan for was 499 spaces. We would like about 165 early on. So we're in that, I think it's like 142 or something is what we are now. So that's primarily in this existing lot.
Yeah.
This part under this parallel, Jack and I were just talking, this parallel may go away because it's running next to the bus lanes.
Yeah.
And so and then that's this full parking kind of existing lot here.
Oh. Okay, thank you. All right.
I'm sorry, could I have Faisal repeat your recommendation for the internal problem? I missed part of that. Make sure I get it right.
Oh, I was just looking at that it has 5 feet of product side of the courtyard, which is really very much, that almost 9 feet of it. Like an area on either side and then 12 in front. I was saying that with that, the addition to be in that space. Because
Can you sketch out a quick section that you?
Yeah, so here that's so it's what you're saying is this point. And some of those are angled, so it's not fully 9, but yeah, making the 12 a little bit wider. I think that's good. Yeah, we kind of love this idea, but it's you can definitely provide. So yes, 12, maybe bigger probably.
and I have to do that when I finish, but I know that one morning it was getting started like that. Garage owner, I understand the second street, but the courtyard are really very tough spaces to design. It is very, very hard. It's just, that's why it's environment. It's unbelievable. I know pickleball courts are very, very, very popular, but they are basketball.
So, yeah, we actually, have had a placeholder just now, but we usually decide next, whatever sports court.
Yeah, this is a good one.
Almost space for more than one baby.
Yeah, it's a pretty good compared to the first scheme where we had no room space. It was pretty good. Yeah, it's not as good as the podium, but $11 million. Yeah, they said no thanks.
Okay, would like to offer feedback. Norman?
I always talk first, I'm gonna kind of.
Okay, let's give somebody else. James.
I'll put it in quick. So, on the Central Promenade, I agree, you have a lot more rooms. I think at those plants, for sure, bringing all that traffic through the center, I almost see it like that could pose more of a safety issue than having treatment to the edge. I just would love to make sure you guys are thinking through that. I'll start with the retail. I think I'll echo what Faisal said. It's not the right time now. Certainly what you're talking about with the planning and future retail, I do think that you've got some
potential customers for retail right across the tracks. How you get them there safely, if you had a nice coffee shop, I think you draw from there as well, maybe now. So I think thoughts for future opportunities that aren't gonna be major conversion efforts, I think those are good. The promenade, I'll just talk about that. I did a quick sketch of the exterior. I think if you could think about potentially pushing that fence back, my concern is it's split up, it's carved up. You're gonna end up with these two pathways. Yeah, and if somebody leaves the gate open, you've got access to everything. I would slide the fence back to the little wing wall, I believe you've got drawn there. And then slide the trees, push those trees out. There'll be a buffer between the high traffic and the visual clutter that's across the street. Slide that out to where you have in the parking cross section there. You'd make that common everywhere. And I would link that and make that tree leave out healthier, 7 feet potentially. You know, if my math's right, you might end up with a 12 to 13 foot sidewalk between your trees and your fence. Plus, I think that's more visible. To me, that feels like that's less of a safety concern for me, just intuitively, than the central courtyard where you're going to be running a lot of people through. Just some initial thoughts too. I'd love to see. I didn't see it, but I'd love to see one scheme where you actually pull the building to the corner. The plaza, to me personally, feels kind of suburban. I'd love to see a corner treatment there so that over time, that corridor becomes much less car centric, and maybe that's a potential for some retail. And I know it looked to me like in every scheme, you left that corner as a spot. I just would love to have seen one exploration of bringing that to the corner and having it be something else. Yeah, and then sight lines, just keep those in mind, because when you have those low planters and planting that central court, I would think would be kind of low visibility over time as plants mature, and you're going to have a lot of shade there too. So getting things grow there. Those are excellent.
Well, I guess one response I have, and I appreciate the comment about the corner, I understand that, is if we don't have some sort of corner public area, then how does our promenade? Yeah, how does that work? Because then you don't really have a gateway, so to speak, to get people to know that it's a public,
Yeah, I think to kind of clarify there, if you brought it to the corner, I would make those outside that street frontage as walkable as possible. Opposed to bringing it through the middle, flip that out to the edges so that you're like in this cross section. Make this you're along the street, highly visible. I would think to me would feel safer, more eyes, equals more safety, opposed to the scheme that brings everyone through the middle, and then in the plan view, you might still have that central spine, but it's less prominent, and you're pulling people to the edges, to the front. And if you had retail, that's where you'd want people to be at some point.
Yeah, we'd have to have some parking in front of any retail towards that corner, otherwise the retail just wouldn't work very well.
Yeah, that's a challenge. I mean, unless you could park in the dark, some of that parking in the corner.
We've got a little bit of on-street parking planned that hasn't been approved yet, but that we're hoping to get on EMOB. You can see it on this parallel there.
Yeah. Now, obviously, haven't thought through this, not as much as you all have, so we don't know all the hurdles. We realize that certainly respect that is extremely difficult. These are all just food for thought. But when I was on a flight back last night looking at this, and I thought, I'd love to see one alternative that actually takes that central spine, fills that corner, builds to the edge, and then uses the street as how you get people to the station, but bringing people around opposed to through the middle.
I don't know if that's a better idea, it just seemed to me that it would activate the street and start the slow process of Buckner, Boulevard becoming a more pedestrian, walkable, friendly environment.
Yeah, I think our original idea to DART was to go around the edges and to the selection committee,
Yeah.
go around the edges, and it was good feedback from them was, how do you get to the station? How do you get, if you're going around the edge, this is what they said, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, I'm saying, if you're going around the edges, the station's buried in the back. And so we want the board kind of, it was made up of a lot of folks, was a more direct connection. And so and then if you stand there, like there's this gas station across the street, and I've gotten past there 2 or 3 times, I'm just looking at the site, and it's so severe. There literally everything in that area is paved with concrete. If you look at downtown, every inch of this, this is like this giant old park. It's and it was 119 degrees.
Yeah.
And I watched this lady with a baby try to get to the DART, and it was shocking. And she made it. So that's why we kind of vibed with the park. Like, I just think I know it's sort of something that's soft, something that's cool, something that's, Letitia was talking about, she's been studying these sort of floral, that's kind of her thing now. And she's like, what if I did some sort of floral? And she's like, I love it, just to stop in that area. So that's kind of where the corner was.
A lot of how that you could do what I'm describing. Granted, it's the Ritz Carlton, but if you go look at the Ritz and the way they treated the street at, what is the street? What is that? It's high, but that's a very shady, and it's high traffic. A lot of people walking there every day. Just a thought, I just feel like every solution probably to completely disagree with everything I'm saying, but I feel like all of your solutions had that simple spine I would have liked to see one that had more of a movement to the outside. Just so potentially in the future open up an opportunity. I'll stop there.
Thank you.
I'm going to be very brief. I second the comments that we've already heard on the double sidewalk. I just don't think that's a good idea. I think it would be a lot better for the residents to have a bigger yard. And it would also be better from an urban standpoint to just have that one walkway. I understand the security concerns, but I also think that the tenants that are taking those units need to be responsible for their place. You mentioned it earlier, it's a 4 foot fence, anybody's gonna be able to jump it, so if they don't lock their sliding door, you're gonna have some problems getting inside the building.
But yeah, are you referring to the outside
The
streets?
burgers, yes.
They're in the buildings.
I do appreciate that you already talked about the retail at the corner. I do think that's probably a good location because it's on the Dillon Street, there's parking. And it's still marking the corner of the building. And then potentially some additional, quote unquote, mixed use opportunities in the current clubhouse. And I appreciate the each unit as retail, so we could morph into that in the future potentially. I also agree around about the promenade, the width, the 12-foot width feels a little tight. If you really want to fight a lot of traffic to the station, so something we need to have.
I don't have much to add that hasn't already been said. I agree about the perimeter sidewalk and the fence. My mother lives in a garden unit with 2 access points, and those are constantly being left open, and you can let in a flood of people to the whole complex versus one person per unit. I was wondering if there have been any sun studies done for these interior courtyards in the promenade. They feel a little cavernous to me. And I appreciate, again, as my colleagues have said, everything you're trying to do. and something is better than nothing, but I do worry that it's gonna be difficult to grow anything in these when you're gonna feel just like you're surrounded by buildings. So I wondered about the sun studies and the amount of shade that will be in those spaces at all. Other than that, I think it's a pretty thoughtful building design. And again, I appreciate everything that you're trying to tackle in this context.
But, unlike the others, I'll not. I have several thoughts here. First thing is, thank you. I mean, you can take a deep breath, not head first into the deep end here. Uncharted territory, you don't watch the bottom. So, thank you for taking this on. This is the kind of thing that we need desperately in the city. And I know Pleasant Grove pretty well. Times, and, you know, this is great. Good job. And I'm very comfortable with the plan of the two-dimensional thing. I don't have any problems with the arrangement, where things happen, how you treat or do the movement, integrating it into the dark stuff. I think, in that regard, you know, it's a great plan. I'm personally very happy it's come out that way. My issues are three-dimensional. I am the historic guy you mentioned. So I wear the concept of context. I'm all about context. I appreciate you mentioning that we don't have one here. We don't have one in one place. What that means is that you're the princess. You are. So, and so I think you need to embrace that opportunity and responsibility a little bit more. You get kind of set while not be happy. For instance, I'm not worried about no retail in this. There's lots of space for retail. This kind of thing takes off, then the drive for retail will come, and the adjacent properties will start to bring those services in. So I don't think it's on you to give them their coffee shops and drugstores and stuff. I think what your job in that is to start to drive that demand. And as I was told by some commercial retail folks just this week, the retail market is strong. It's stronger than it was suspected with Amazon. Brick and mortar retail fills up. It's one of the best properties that we've got going right now. So what I think we have here, though, is a lot of opportunities to better define your role and adapt your three-dimensional aspects to that sort of unusual job you have to do here. Let me start with the major street fronts, Elam and Butler. I think there's a lot of opportunities there to do some stuff. I think you're conflicted a lot. You've got ground level units opening onto something, and everything else you do after that. Yes. I think it's 4 foot. Everybody roll their eyes. I think 4 foot fence is a waste of money. You're gonna spend the money doing it. I love making money, but it's either because I'm an old fat guy. 4 foot. Yeah, I hurt myself doing it, but I can do it. That's a visual clue that's not going to be effective. If you're going to do that, I've got no problem with the 8-foot thing or 8-foot screen. It should be a screen. If we're visualizing, a metal fence or something along there, I think we go beyond that. There's all kinds of ways to treat it. Planted the same privacy. It was one approach. The other approach is, you're talking about street level residential scale. I don't see any of that kind of scale in here. You articulate the building on the top floor that nobody can see when they walk down the sidewalk. But on the rest of it, when you truthfully to me, that looks as much like a suburban office building as it does an apartment complex. I think there's lots of things you could do to soften that design and give it's a major new form of residential. It's addressing a residential issue, a residential crisis we have in the city. And, you know, those are some time. So I think when you get to the streetscape, what you see from the outside, I think the issue of articulating a single-story residential feel, whether that's 8-foot fences or continuous or not, and with the 8-foot fences, I think you want to do that. You really want the individual people outside there that are work like that. It's going to go into, to me, it's hot, go into a long, skinny green space. Let's do that. I understand all those things, but I don't see them working together. You gotta have that one. If you just don't do that, no bother with it. Or, you still articulate a different scale to get people to try. This is not an office building, it's not a regular podium apartment building. I do think it's a lot like a podium apartment building, but instead of screening and parking beneath, you actually got living units. I just think it needs a different treatment there. I'll even go to the elevation tunnels. Talk about the elected entrance on each one. It has a long strip of glass. And it's an office building. It really does.
Is the white part there?
No, that's not what's at retail, and it's not, but that's okay. I don't have a problem with that back there. If you look on the side, the elevations I see, where you say there's a plate meeting and enters the whole building, it's just a 4-story piece of glass. It doesn't articulate, it doesn't read, it doesn't tell anybody character going by, it's just an entrance. It's just, it looks like someone's got a new window. So I think you can articulate the important piece, the fact that people, that your market won't understand in terms of they haven't seen that. So, they need to drive by, that's cool, but you have to live there. That's convenient. I think so articulating that street to a different scale to reflect the unique character that your property has and the opportunity that it has. I think you've got some stuff to do there. My number one thing. And then I've got other things. I love the promenade. Taking it to the middle like that, right? Anybody in the corner reads that, what we see here? And I've heard it, I think, it looks like it's like a pinch point for security or something. But again, we've got 2 angular glass pieces, and there's a crack in that iceberg there that you're supposed to walk to. It is lovely in and of itself, but I don't see it as welcoming. I don't see it communicating to anybody that this is the way to get to the dark station. I think, and I have a lot to do with Fair Park out here, and I can tell you that a small sign standing there won't do it. You need better visual clues about what that is. They come up, that needs to look like an entrance that goes to somewhere. I got Dartwood mine, if you put a thing across that said Dartwood, do something with that pinch point, that entrance point, to make it look like an entrance. Tell people there's something. And then when they go through it, I love the promenade. Again, as I sort of alluded to earlier, it's not that different. There's really different treatment. I look at that and I think about, all right, I think about a narrow New York street. But even that's much wider than what you've got here. Now it's just a view for how, and I can't be specific. But for me, and again, it's a 3-story house without a lot of width in there. I don't know. I think the idea that people are coming out and sitting on the porch and random folks are walking through. I actually feel the need for a little. If you said we make it a little wider, I feel the need to recommend. I think a little more width, a little bit better separation, like you might have in a truly urban street. It's closer. They don't get that. You don't get that kind of width, but you won't get the cars either. So the more width you can get in there and kind of get people their space, I think it's better for maybe period. I think it's just for everybody to enjoy that thing, but that space. So, and yeah, I just think just keep looking at techniques from, is it a pass through, is it a community space that people are leaning over their fences of their units and talking to their friends who don't live there, but they're walking down to take the bus to work or something. Think about that. But, the phones are there, lots of good stuff, lots of good things you're doing. I just think you need, you need to crack your identity, reach into your creativity and really respond to how the user group here will be receiving this and how intuitive them to understand. Yes, yeah, go do it.
Yes, another. That came to, that's the discussion on 7 million or 11 million budget. I was still trying to figure out on this one because space is, tight. I would highly recommend, what I mentioned about the control on this one. The more I look at it, it looks to me less of attentions. So you may find yourself, hey, we need to redo it. If you choose to replay with it, right? The thought is to me is that I have two different garages. There's no possibility to have one garage. So then you can free up some space. Second thing, based on everything else that I've heard is, how many units are in that green, like along the promenade? How many units are in that? 28. 28. So is there a scenario you can visualize that those go away and it doesn't kill the project, but it gives you a lot more flexibility now the state is opened up. So everybody's saying, think about, using that space. So I'm just saying that we imagine that as well. If I don't know why I feel like you may find yourself in a pinch, needing to create some lead space to accommodate your drainage. And if that happens, then I'm saying, if that happens, suppose, otherwise it's great, but if that happens, then think about eliminating those 28 units. Pushing everything tighter and giving the green space in a little, or, I just want to mention. And then the limited one that was added, I don't know why that. Was there a scenario to move one?
Yeah, there was. We ran a scenario with one, but again, the promenade was, you'd have to go through the promenade.
On the promenade, on the peaceful with the mind minds, yes, I know, eventually it's gonna get a lot, but rich people are thinking right now that I go back and forth. Just asking the question, I think that, limited thing is a hard, like very frustrating, yes, now. So, I guess if you end up changing your site plan, it opens up a lot of options to maybe, I just feel like it's sure it's a long burner. Yes, you're trying to do the right thing by giving everybody their own private patio. It is just so much traffic on it. It is not a good, like, even in the 4 or 6 foot fence, I don't like that. Once a week, the weather is designed. It's just that I just feel like it needs to push away from that a little bit. Make it safer. I'm not saying you do it, but you find yourself reasonable if that's what I'm saying, that we should take those options.
I think there's some that might appreciate our sort of mixed housing component, even though it's all rental. So, taking that away.
I'm not saying you do, but that's why I asked how many, I don't know what development actually, suppose you are trading off, if you let go of that, it gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of the space that's available. And same thing with the garage. The two areas are kind of.
So I think the main reason why we were going with the 2 garages was to keep them at a certain level so that they're actually hidden behind the exterior of our buildings. Because if we went with 1 garage, now you have one that's just gonna be sitting up and it's gonna look kind of ugly and it's gonna be back behind this. We'll see it from the street. So our idea was to do 2 separate ones so that we can hide it behind our actual units that's fortunately all the way around.
So if I
Keep the.
yeah, fun with that, I think about the trade-off. So that you don't have a garage that sticks up, as you can see from the street, you're sacrificing green space on the interior. I don't know that that's a choice I would make. Sure.
Okay. Any other comments from my peers here? No? I don't remember in recent history here about a project that has generated so many divergent feedback. But what we are hearing today is opinions in different directions, which I think is healthy. I think that it's not this is not an easy one in the sense that it's non-bank and everybody follows along. It is intriguing, it is thoughtful, and again, you're hearing different opinions on the same subject. One of our panel members wouldn't be with us today here, but he sent us a few comments. I'd like to highlight two of his comments. The other comments have been already addressed. Two of his comments are, first is, he's referring to the plaza on the corner of Buckner and Elm. Plaza on this corner looks great, but does the user want to sit next to the busy and dangerous intersection? Could this space be in a different location instead? So, open question. And his second point that has been already addressed is, look, in fact, this has been addressed. He's commenting on the sidewalks on Elm and Buckner, specifically on Buckner. Look at having trees on the back of curb and providing one walk with a minimum consistent width of 10 feet on both roads. Well, both roads, 10 feet sidewalks on both Elm and Buckner. The comment is in relation to the dimension, to the size of the sidewalks. So, other than that, my own personal feedback to you, I believe that plan is quite elegant, quite thoughtful. I do appreciate the tightness that it achieves. Having buildings flanking Elm and Buckner, I actually think it's a good thing. I wouldn't move the buildings too far back. I can like Buckner and Elm are busy streets, but the more we move buildings back away from those roads, the more we will encourage high speeds. So if this is a seed project, if this is a demonstration project, I actually agree with your approach of having those buildings hugging the streets tightly, as long as those units are visible and habitable, etc. So I agree with that. Sure, manage the sidewalk, 5 feet maybe on the right side. But from my perspective, I agree with the way that the plan is laid out. Regarding the promenade, it has generated so many comments, of course, because it's different, it's unique. We don't see that all the time everywhere. We look at it and we go, okay, how does it work? I haven't seen it. Are you sure it's gonna work? It's not easy. I think it's a terrific idea. Not as a solution for everything. It's not the only way to get to that station. It's not the only purpose space. It's not the only green space. It's one more. It offers an alternative to everything else that we have here and that we have in the neighborhood. So it's one more. It's another type of common public space. It's not the only answer to every ailment that we have in the neighborhood. But it's one possible contribution to the neighborhood. So from that standpoint, yeah, by all means. Should we calibrate the dimension? Is 12 feet enough? Is 5 feet for the planters garden enough? Not sure. You guys are equipped to do that. But the very idea, I think, is terrific. With one caveat. I do, and I'm going to use my pointer here, Mark, to draw on your plan. I question the community. Well, first, I applaud the idea of a community room that could become retail in the future. Same here with the leasing office, etc. But what I do question is the location. What if we bring those uses, community room, leasing, etc., right here and right there? And why do we do that? Because that way we have eyes on the promenade. And the concern is this promenade going to be safe? Dark, late at night, the place is dark, no one is watching. Well, if you have the community room here, the leasing office there, it's implicit that while someone is watching at least during the day. So I would ask you to consider that. And the argument could be, well, what we do here is not this space. Well, it's the same as here and here and here and here and here. So we have units. If units are if it is okay for us to have units here, and it is okay, why not there? But these and these are unique spots, different from the generic spots, and generic here doesn't have any negative connotation. This is unique, that's generic. Let's bring the unique program to the unique location. It's here and here. That's what I would suggest. One more thing along those lines. Mark, here in his written comments, mentioned that, and I agree. I believe some of my peers, a couple of my peers also said the same thing. I question the scale of this plaza here, of this space. It seems too large. Some might think that it's too small, I think it's too large. There's nothing lining up other than the size of 2 units here and here. Granted, those units have balconies, but may not be enough. These are private homes. This is a private balcony facing an extra busy boulevard and a plaza. Is it right? So, but perhaps by bringing these uses here, the community room or leasing with that's what we should tighten the private. Maybe don't leave it there, but tighten it, make it smaller. And whatever we remove in terms of square footage from here, bring it here instead. This could be a bit wider because this is quieter and folks will be naturally. Say, if I have a kid, I live right here or right there. If I have a kid, I don't want to see my kid going there, but here, yeah, it'll be okay. It's quiet, it's this is not a busy road. Folks come and go, but it has sort of a feel of a front yard. Not that. So, the end result would be courtyard, open court, courtyard, and they all would be connected. I realize there's a gap right there. So maybe from here to there, to there, to there, to there. Kids could live here, could find their buddies over here, and this would become sort of a internal network of open spaces. It seems that the scale of the space is correct to me. I don't believe that we have a need for a large green space. This is quite nice. This is quite nice, and this is a politeness. Again, each one of these spaces seems to have its own character. I think it's good. But if they could be open-minded, that's a positive from my standpoint. In short, thank you for taking a different side. As Kevin told us at the very beginning, you are heroes. Because it is either way to make money faster. So this is it's a labor of love. Of course, you're going to make money and that's big money. But you are investing more than typically you do. So we appreciate you for that. And the feedback that we offer you, once again, not to be in a way, in any way to put you down, it's quite the opposite. Now it's time to test every idea. And some ideas may not be right, others right. And if there are some good ideas here, by all means, take them, run with them, because our interest is in making a better city and better neighborhoods. Anything else? Good. Yeah. We are involved every day, every month from our yes. Sending friends conferencing, I think it was so easy, so nice, so clear when they reach it back to us. All right.
One job in the process.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Mark,
Yeah, I'm gonna just to make sure
Yeah.
I heard correctly. So,
you are Mark.
just about it, okay.
Why so? In order, or do we do that?
Yeah, well, those things, I'm just some.
There's probably a few mistakes here, but, okay. Number one, the panel advises that existing retention areas be confirmed and that new opportunities be explored for low-impact development water retention. Faisals. The panel recommends that internal sidewalks at Elam and Buckner be eliminated to allow larger semi-private outdoor space for ground-level tenants and wider public sidewalk and tree planting space. Number three, the panel advises that the promenade section be revised to allow for more semi-private outdoor residential space. By reconfiguring the planter box and public promenade spaces. 4, the panel recommends additional thought be given to the internal Dart Road frontage to allow for a more generous sidewalk and tree well space by eliminating the private sidewalk. 5, the panel advises exploring building to the corner at Buckner and Elam instead of having a corner plaza to enhance walkability and introduce a future retail opportunity. Number 6, the panel advises, I'm sorry, that one is an incomplete one. Number 6, the panel recommends a sunshade study be developed to make sure landscaping can be selected to be successful at each location. The panel advises at each, each location. I'll reword that one. The panel advises this development should embrace this project. This panel advises this development should embrace this project being among the trendsetters of the area to set the architectural standard for the area as it continues to develop. And again, that one needs to be reworded. The panel believes there's a lot of opportunity on Buckner and Elam to include taller screening, building articulation to soften the streetscape and enhance entries and the potential for different uses. The panel recommends that better visual clues be employed to make it clear the promenade entry leads to the Dart station and that it balance the needs of transit users, using it as a pass-through space, a community space, and a space for residents. Number 14, the panel recommends that the design team explore removing one of 2 garages and reconsider eliminating the central promenade and its units. 15, the panel advises the location of the plaza at the corner of Buckner and Elam be reconsidered for an alternate location. Some of these are kind of almost repeating. I'm sure I could kind of combine 2 or 3 of these.
Right.
13, the panel recommends a community ribbon leasing space and common amenity locations be relocated to face the Dart station and the plaza along the promenade instead to bring more activity to these areas and rebalance the allocation of open space at the Dart side promenade entry. And lastly, the panel advises internal green spaces be allowed to connect through the central promenade by reconfiguration of the corners of each side of the promenade. Again, a little bit of work and
It's about the involved, but I think that the essence of the legacy of it.
and like I mentioned, I'll send those out later this afternoon or early next week.
I recommend developing a garage. I'm not saying that, I'm saying if they are forced into that corner, then they can run. I don't know if it's good to make this. But I think what I was saying, to connect the these spaces, I don't think we can connect private and public, but the continuation in check.
Yes. And some of the notes are contradictory, so we should work them in a way that we can't recommend 2 things that are contradictory. We put them. But we can do that. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it so much.
Are you in the office? I'm sorry, one more time. Are you in the office today? I'm taking on. Well, make sure it's not stuff for tomorrow. Oh, okay. And I don't think it's gonna be an issue, but Eliana was talking about it. And she already got it. So we'll get some great dollars with us today. So I should get on. So I just wanted to like take. But I didn't know you said. I know. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I just wanted to do something.
We actually met person.
We have been on the phone like this.
Cars, next week.
Yes, yes.
Okay, yeah. Yes. For printing today. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Then you do that. Anyway, Mark. I'll let you. I appreciate it. All right.
They should, the subject language.
Yeah, we're trying to find. We had a, I think it's Spain. I'm hoping to see you next few months. June, regarding. So very big money.
Hi, Karsten Lund.
Active line style.
Very nice to meet you.
I don't know about this, by the way, about plan here, and then I have like a. It's also the wilderness. This is project, yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna be the one to see it. It looks like it's out of too. It's just like
See exactly.
It was crazy. I was out there yesterday, just seeing all the, I mean, there's 4 or 5 different parks just along that main highway strip right there.
Just doing online. It's like all of our sites are back in.
What makes it easy? Because I also have Animal Creek, so I did far more in and slipped out the back way to get rid of another one. Likewise. I think John worked on.
Added my money.
All right, so picking up the. Let's put your thought here. Yes. Let me see.
Use in the non-architectural.
Is there any way we could share slides, like you could share slides on there?
Yeah, why?
Believe in the
Shoot, we're just remote today. Administrator of the WebEx meeting, you share content on.
I have the file, I guess.
It's the, essentially the file that we sent out last Friday. I'm gonna share that.
Okay.
Somewhere.
Yeah. It's
It's a little bit different.
Sure. Walkable fencing around the.
Enough for next time. Well, I have, they have some paper versions for us as well, and we can rely on it away. Yeah. Theoretically, like I should be able to light it. You get some of their. How are you doing?
See the recon.
Oh, okay. Just never. We can just cheap. Yeah, but I think I need to do it through my. You know what I mean? I've got the PDF. Would you like share screen? Yes. I don't know. That's all they didn't agree. That's not what it's for. It should be. Yeah, it's basically plugged into bed.
If you wanted to put it on that screen to make it more visible.
But then. Is there a way from here I can just share my screen?
If you have the PDF open, you have the WebEx open, you can able to share directly from the WebEx or from your computer into WebEx. You can't be doing basically anything else using.
Right.
And then we might get to get on that screen. I mean,
Next game.
but I'm also.
Yeah, I can share content.
Okay.
So I think I'll
Actually share people in the room.
Yeah.
Okay, good. How long have you been making this work? Almost. And then I just need to get that projector working.
Okay.
Which is asking a lot. I'm not sure. And I just, I hope it works.
HDMI? Do you know? Yeah.
Of course, it's on.
Flash.
Yeah, we'll see.
Hey, look, so far, I think I can project it here. I'm not sure that it will project here, so we're plugging into that. I'm so sorry about the. Well, you're good. I take a lot of things. I mean, as far as online, I could, but I'm trying to figure out how to get back when these. Yeah, so we can't share. So what screen is that showing right now? It's going to the WebEx. Is there a way in the WebEx to change like your screen sharing settings? For instance, on Zoom or Teams, you can do it to where it's really down. We typically use Teams, so WebEx is not necessarily, we only.
I'm trying to get his.
Probably makes it
computer
easier for
back.
the. Oh, there we go. So it's not big. Thank you. And then, Carson, or
I can
whoever's gonna, are you gonna present the entire?
I'm gonna present along.
No one walks.
Just let me know when to finish slides.
Perfect. And looks like you have our, is there any way we can show the actual PowerPoint PDF? I can't really haven't seen that one.
Oh,
You guys did. That one.
yeah, the one we just covered it, Alex got it. Perfect.
So, for future reference. This HDMI. But there's this. It's kind of. Yeah, and so this will go into the straight, that's a matter of reading. And then this goes into the wall, does some stuff, and it makes sure that. It's on the right side. We just left out it. So. Cool.
The only thing is that. Well, I did it.
How's 2 o'clock on Friday? Works.
Like, so that's.
We can put other times.
If you, Jennifer.
No, I'm saying.
No, I don't, but I
I didn't say anything. What time, no, what is your email address? I thought I had it.
There's some message from Georgia.
Oh, you did?
Really quick on that.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Like that, you rather.
Oh, JJ.
Yeah, lots of cash.
You know?
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, gotcha.
It's there.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, I appreciate the heads up on that.
We're good to go ahead and get started? One more minute. Yeah, just, wanted to, this will be slightly different, but we'll make it work. The second project you guys are going to be supporting is Lake June Geoing Station. Located in the southern sector, this primary considerations include maximizing the use and benefit of transit adjacency through thoughtful design, arrangement, and mix of core and fulfill residential product. Safe pedestrian paths and sidewalks should welcome access from the adjacent communities and the H.D. Gonzalez Learning Center. The visual and environmental impact of parking should be reduced through careful planning of shared parking opportunities, placement of buildings, and the incorporation of landscaping. And lastly, the design and treatment of the road, detention ponds, undeveloped and amenitized open space should be leveraged to maximize their use and benefit for residents, visitors, and the environment, and any potential development opportunities to add density in the future. With that, now I want to introduce Carson Lowe, and we have detail on the project.
Awesome. Thank you, Karen. So, as our church said, I'm Carson Lowe. Today I have with me Ryan Dower, Honest Joseph, and Brian Grant from the JPI team. We are going to be talking about the Jefferson Station development. Next slide, please. So, to give a little bit of background, as we thought through just the Lake June site in general, it's one of the larger sites through the RFP process, which demanded more for just mixed use approach. We wanted to have a level of context from high density multifamily through for sale townhomes, and then also exploring some potential live work units. And so thinking through that, we also wanted to really leverage the open green space. You can see through the center, we have some open areas that are going to engage both the DART station itself that will run all the way back to the learning center, along with some of the other green spaces. The project as it currently stands, we're proposing 374 units of combination of wrap and garden style product with one parking garage included in that wrap style building. This is going to be an affordable housing development where at least 50% of the units are going to be servicing 80% area median income residents. Balance being for market rate. And so next slide, please. As we looked at the site, we wanted to understand the context as it sits within the city of Dallas.
when we found the Go Forward Dallas plan, we saw that this sits both on a transit center, being that dark station itself, and that multimodal corridor, along as being in that urban neighborhood. One of the things we also found fascinating is a lot the proximity in near the Pleasant Grove neighborhood and Piedmont area. There's a lot of open green space being near the Great Trinity Forest area. And so this also ties in with the loop plan that the city of Dallas is working on, tying in the open parks, trails, and green space as well. In fact, the intersection of where Lake Jean ties into 175, they're currently renovating or working to procure funding, I believe, correct, Kevin, to ultimately improve that area to where there's means for pedestrian passage. Right now, it's just a 2-lane concrete overpass over the highway, but they're looking to provide bike lanes and walking passages as well. And so, as we thought about the site, we started to think about that, of how do you engage that density, but also tie in the transportation methods. Next slide, please. And so this kind of gives a better context, and so you can see 175 coming down along the planned west side, all that open green area, so the Great Trinity Forest area being out here south, the Great Trinity Forest Golf Club, and then there's actually a slew of parks further north on North Jim Miller Parkway. But Lake Jean Parkway, or Lake Jean Road, is actually that primary thoroughfare, and where our contemplated access is both for vehicle traffic, but also for the dark buses. And so that's why we view this as just a great opportunity to engage those ones. Next slide, please. So here's some current pictures of the site conditions as they exist. Up in the top left corner, you can see this is a traffic light where all the traffic primarily enters the site. It's directly adjacent to this Valera gas station. And immediately along that Lake Jean side, there's actually already an existing park. And so we want to continue to leave that or find ways to incorporate that connectivity to round out and tie into the dark station itself. And then this right here, and we'll unpack it a little bit more in the site plan itself, but as the loop that ties around with the bus loop actually ties into this pattern. Next slide. And so looking at the dark station itself, right here is the physical station, along with the rail transit, and also with the buses. And so we wanted to take the success that it already has of leveraging just where the people that are utilizing the station stay, but then tying in the green space areas into that station. Next slide, please. And so as far as the rest of the site, the current conditions is there is already a lot of open green space, but there are a handful of mature trees. So that is something we do want to pay consideration to, because a lot of what we're looking at is redeveloping just what is currently an existing parking lot. Next slide. So thinking through inspiration imagery, we wanted to look at how do we create sort of this transitional corridor feel, really leveraging that 4-story component. And then as we tie into the townhomes, that 2-story that bleeds into the single family neighborhood and elementary school right next door. And so here's some representative imagery, and I was going to talk through a little bit of what that looks like.
By the way, I'm just these youth plan agent. Apologize for the dramatic eyes I had a week ago, so I'm not this serious. As you can see, you know, this is, some of the stuff that our architect put together as far as transit-oriented developments and emphasize kind of common corners, you know, these things out. And what you'll see as we go to the slides for our actual elevation, so we've actually scaled this back so bit to get to a more residential scale, you know, so we want to start from a point of transit-oriented developments, how does it look and how does that have prominence, and the kind of quality we're after, the kind of quality we build. And we'll get to kind of towards the end of the slide. We'll kind of show some more of our examples, which is we have 25 bodies in construction around the measure place at all scales. So good things.
Yeah, so thinking through the site plan as it currently exists, the wrap shop product we were talking about is apparent in the planned northwest corner, and then the 2 more garden style type buildings from the south. We are not currently contemplating to personally develop those townhome products. We're going to partner with another developer to have those be for sale. But we're going to ensure that the connectivity of the green space and access ties out with what we have planned.
Carson, please identify, the townhomes.
Yes, sir. So right here in the northeast, basically where that triangle sticks out, those are the, I believe it's 36 townhomes.
Next slide.
The next time we call it out specifically. But so thinking through this as it stands, our current unit mix is we have 37 studio apartments, 206 one bedrooms, 112 twos, and 119 threes. So a very dense development, and that was part of the feedback that we received is for people that are looking to travel to the city, they need to have basically residents close that provides them immediate access. And so this is for more smaller nuclear families, singles, and young families. And so that's why there's such a high emphasis on those one bedrooms and studios. So thinking through this as well, we currently have 4 stories as contemplated on MF Building 1, and for buildings 2 and 3, it's contemplated as 3 stories, with the average unit gross area being 1051 and the average net rentable being 904. And then thinking through the structured parking itself. So on that wrap building, the cast garage is 350 units with 12 surface park units up by the clubhouse leasing office. And so the shared parking within that garage is 42 space. Thinking through the other half of the development for buildings 2 and 3, that is surface parked with 228 spaces and 47 parallel parking. And some of the feedback we received early in this process is as we think about this corridor, it was given a lot of feedback that they wanted to see this really be sort of that street cityscape type feel. And so that's why we did that parallel parking and having that main area where it ties into Lake June have that city-like feel with the transition between the 2 product types. And that blue dotted line shows the dark bus access. And so overall, we are currently contemplating 404, so 625 total parking spaces for the development. Next slide.
I'd say that blue dash line is consistent with the bus patterns today, so it's about that path that we made up ourselves. Is what exists today. We try to keep that same path that the buses take.
So then, as far as the townhomes are concerned, that's this area in the orange. So we're contemplating 36 units with 1,440 average square foot, and we're assuming that they would be 2-story townhomes. Down at the bottom right, this is a product we're developing in McKinney for SPCA, but that is one where those are actually 4-rent townhomes. But this is just to show that context and that juxtaposition of that multi-family 4-story product next to an adjacent townhome, although I believe those are 3-story townhomes. So that is just to give. Next slide.
Actually, we need to go back to slides real quick. So, yeah, we've had several, discussions where we've kind of, iterated the plan, and we're very happy with where we've landed. We've figured out a way to bring scale, that matches the neighborhood, not just the school, next to the school. We've got some great comments from Dallas, where we really thought through bus traffic, pedestrian traffic, street traffic, and make sure that, we're not trying to throw an uptown project by Lake June. I think that was something that we were very interested in figuring out, what fits when it comes to a transit-oriented development, but also has a very residential scale, different socioeconomic, neighborhood. So now we go to elevations here, 2 slides. So the design aesthetic is simplified for some of the precedent you guys have seen. More hip roofs, brick, functional panel. Storefront is just the leasing, which is basically where you enter off of Lake June and where your main traffic visual corner would be. Next slide. This is building 2, which is 3 stories, so you have now a step down as well. We've created that green space between the 2 buildings. But beyond that, it still feels very, very residential. That's what we were after. Make sure it doesn't feel like an urban product. Next slide. This is an example of some of the things that we have under construction or completed around Dallas. like I said, multiple scales. Grandscape is a 5-story product. At Grandscape off 121 is in construction. Jefferson Hill is a 5-story product, off 75, East Village area that is finished. SBCA, as far as I mentioned, is under construction. Jefferson Ridge Building Board is under construction. Ridge Building has a 4-story, 3-story, and a town component. So the reason why we included all of this is to see that, to kind of show that we have a sense of scale as far as different, product types go, and we have a standard of quality that I think is very high. We want to make sure that we apply those kind of, standards to our own affordable housing product. But that doesn't mean that we want to steal something from an uptown project, throw it down here, and we want to make sure that it's site specific, big context.
Excellent. And that's it. Thank you, guys. Any questions?
So I ask no, any questions?
Yeah.
Any sections? Any sections?
So we can see whether it's from the three different things.
We don't have a moment, but we can absolutely provide those.
But the existing, what we take the answer to this, the grant of the quality because it's all built on the existing subdivision.
Correct. Correct. The existing circulation from the Dartmouth is correct.
Then there are 2 driveway openings I see on that main bus road. One
Yes.
of them is exit of the garage. Is that what it is? Or
Yes, so right here, that is entry and potential exit.
there's a second one also.
So both of those are access points to the garage.
Yeah, 2 excellents.
And then I think the other one is, are you referring to one?
Yeah.
I
I'm
was
just interested in the building. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't think it's actually drive. I think it's drawn to the drive. It's just a building.
And I think the thought on that was for the residents who are utilizing the Dart station to have easy access into the corridors.
All right. Bison?
Yes, I forgot about some plan, it's like expected to be what we delegated, so it's, I would just recommend that from the housing. Check.
And one thing of note here is we did have our civil engineer take a look at this. And so this is the recommended detention amount that they would recommend to the site. Along with this plan as it sits, accounts for the existing sewer easements and a number of the other underground utilities. So taking that into consideration, building land as well.
So, yes, Maya, so that leads into the question, what does the topographic profile of the site look like? And I assume that the detention pond is at the low point and it rises to the street to the north.
Interestingly enough, this might be one of the flattest pieces of dirt in all of Dallas.
In that part of town, it's actually quite.
Really.
Yeah.
But I think, I can't.
But it is the low point.
But it is the low
Low
point.
point, and what kind of total grade difference would you expect from one end to the other? 5 feet?
I believe it was 5 feet in total.
Okay. All we're going to always take from out is flat. And they're
We've had a lot of experience dealing with some undulating sites, and so this has been a breath of fresh air to our pre-construction team.
Okay.
If there's any questions for Dart, Jack is sick enough, unfortunately, a little early today, but.
I'm just gonna ask, so that is a for sale product on our property, that's a dark
The townhouse. Yeah, the idea is, we haven't gotten into details yet, but, Dart's preference is long-term lease on property, but as part of a bigger project, we have, made exceptions and sold property for sale elements. So we would probably want to specify that the rental portion gets constructed first as a phase 1. And sale would be part of the ILA when occur, following certain what gets done there. But no, we've done that in the past in
exceptions for projects like this.
Anybody else have any questions? Otherwise, we'll get some tests.
So you don't have cross sections of your main street into the site there, right?
Thanks.
I'm curious if your bus circulation speeds, with being residential, keeping those, that would be a very slow speed, environment through there.
Yeah, I think the expectation there is, some of the feedback we received on the road is between the townhome and the Stanley product, and what's the Main Street Drive, so Main Street Drive, I kind of is designed already. And so we would probably do it this year.
Would there be a bus stop?
Yeah, that's something not be, we see it on our station.
So the stop would be over there, so for people that the purchase of the townhomes, they just walk to the station.
Yeah, I think that's all they use to get through space, and that's where we also, like some live work units with feature downstairs, that gives them the option to open up both a boutique, a tax preparing service, insurance agency, accounting, do something small, if that's what they run out of their house with Asian or local.
And umbrellas should also slow down speeds, yeah.
Yeah, I'm all for, having you come out the doors, have a nice bus stop there, it'd be great. But if you can't catch the bus, you explore any alternative, have the bus traffic separate, say,
We did look at the recommendation we got actually from, say, Dallas and Jack, was to make sure that it feels integrated.
Yeah.
It feels like it's a part of it, and that streetscape is, actually focused on the transit-oriented development, we don't want to shy away from that.
Our first plan actually contemplated a lot of bus traffic separated and came down the Dart line
And loop back.
and moved back, and Dart was not a big fan.
Yeah.
One is the bus driver.
And then my last question down on the retention of the site, it looks like that those mature trees lead over into your site, it looks like a really nice. And I think about Greenbelt Park, you talk about retaining,
And we could go to the,
it looks like this kind of leads over it, and just looking at my.
Right.
Area on Google, it's.
if you go down, sorry. So.
Yeah, because it's.
There. So that is the tree line as it exists right there. So this is actually standing, basically I'm standing virtually on the dart rail, taking a picture out towards the trees.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like a beautiful piece of property, and I'm looking at your site plan, it's like fortunately, weird potential.
Well, it's hard to tell.
Overlay, it's just, I have a question, if you look at hanging clothes, working around.
And candidly, we haven't gotten a tree survey on this yet, so that is definitely going to be contemplated.
Okay.
And that's part of the reason if you go to back to the site plan, where it has the detention, it should be further down in the presentation. Down here, so we have sort of just graphic trees dropped in there, but you can actually see very faintly the tree line as it exists. So we actually currently contemplate a sidewalk that loops the perimeter of the property to engage that space. And similarly, this point of access right now is emergency access only, but is going to be open for pedestrian traffic. And so we feel that that's a way for the residents that live in the adjacent neighborhood to get use out of the amenity space, to be in that green area, and turn that detention pond into almost more of a park-like amenity, with that trail ultimately looping around the property.
We have contemplated, other responsive detention, and when we introduced it down on product, that's kind of where it was. And it really didn't make sense, it's kind of split up in two different detention areas, it wasn't at the low point, this actually makes the most sense from a, engineering perspective, and then we're trying to minimize that sidewalk.
To speak to agree on that, most of that area, which one is okay, is actually already graded and cleared with trees. I would say that's wrong, probably 80% of the area of the pond doesn't have trees on it.
offer or would, but I want to reiterate what my colleague James just said, and excuse me, Carmen.
Yes, sir.
From the Google folder we had, and I understand you guys still don't have the trade survey, so, but it seems from the area folder that, I'm sorry, Ryan or Ryan? Ryan, yes, Ryan, maybe more than 20% of these is trees. Please go back to your, and if that's the case, we all would have the responsibility of revisiting the location of the detention pond and the conservation of trees, because there are no trees anywhere else other than here. So if the only thing that we had, we cut them, we would have a detention pond. Well, let's think before we do that. Absolutely.
Well, and that's certainly a consideration, is we could potentially restructure some of the parking and keep that attention in that green space after not impact those trees. Yeah,
We'll get it.
any comment on that. I think we could.
Any other questions before lunch?
Like, how much flexibility do you think they have?
Sure, so, right, honestly, do you want to speak to parking and just the JPAS standard in general and how we're typically
This is it's a little different than what's together. But our standard is, 1 per bedroom plus 125 per unit, in general. So I'd say we're a little under that. We're also sharing that, Dart parking. So the feedback we got from Dart was that it's all our Dart stations are overparked, so we're still gonna have Dart dedicated parking. They've asked us to minimize, we have 42 in the free gas garage and 38 shown service. So it is definitely a shared parking, agreement.
And part of the thought surrounding that is the hours that people are going to be utilizing the Dart station versus residents are going to be away. Is as residents are leaving during the day to go to their jobs or whatever that aren't utilizing the Dart station, traffic is actually going to decrease, and the people that are ultimately the ridership are going to be parking there during the day. So we feel like it'll be a very symbiotic relationship.
In the RFP to start with, Dart was asking for 100 spaces, and Dart was kind of off that 100 spaces, 70 spaces.
So, let me continue on that a little bit. We have a combination of service and garage. If you're gonna do a garage, why not do more garage and free up some green space? Because to me, the green space and landscape portions not what we would want here. Those all of residential spaces that even with buses running through, I'll talk about later. One of the things that we just add some floor to your parking garage, and free up a lot of the surface.
Part of this parking distribution, you can see that the site has, then it's here and here, or our garage is over there, so really to service our tenants here and here, you really be parking adjacent to those buildings.
So why not centralize the garage instead of putting it on one end of the
We thought that the actual connection being centralized was more important, the garage is 4 stories. And the wrap building is also 4 story, so it's serving that pod of residents very well.
The connections to the elementary school, down this direction.
Okay.
The neighbors from elementary school is to have those digital signals, like, each of the bus stop easier versus walking up. So like June, then back down and around, they wanted to use one direct connection. That's what got forced to drive speed road.
And the scale of garage doesn't match the building at the moment, 4-story garage, 4-story building.
We do have a plan to contemplate 2 parking garages, knowing that the cost of parking garages is not cheap. Duration given was, let's stick with 1 parking garage.
Maybe we should, start with the fact that their original proposal was all service. And so we asked them to look at all structure. And then we asked them to look at the hybrid of service and structure and where would the structure be. So this is where they landed at the moment. But all of those conversations have occurred at some level. But two structured garages that are separate and distinct is cost prohibitive from multiple angles. Now the question is, can the garage be moved or located more strategically to serve both sides of the site? That's for them to, that's a
Good question.
Well, we have a question at this point. It's not a recommendation, but for a few more minutes. But yes.
So the building's main entrance is at the corner where the leasing space is that where like visitors? Or are visitors just coming in for the lodge?
So the main access for the amenity center?
Was for the building itself, as a visitor?
Yes, so it is in that planned, I guess, absolute northeast corner right there, so where the building comes to the point. That's currently the amenity center leasing office that opens into that open courtyard there with the pool area, and then you can see there's a handful of parking spaces there. So that's our prospective tenant and leasing parking and guest parking.
Yeah, but if you're a tenant who has a guest, you know, like they can come to any entrance, they get logged in, you know, the access, tenants have access, access.
And where are those entrances? Like the plan is really hard to read because I can't see the plan itself, the layout of the ground floor, so where are those?
It's a block plan, you know, so it's not basically, you have a ring of units, you know, with a sort of corridor, so you can kind of see our location there, the plan with this corner there, you know, there's your leasing entrance, there's another stair here. So it's kind of at the corner you expect, you know? Four corners basically.
Yes. So that, just following up, you don't have a ground floor plan that you brought with you by any chance?
The closest thing we would have is probably that elevation, if you go, I believe it's down 2 slides.
No, yeah, okay. And then my second question, so the other projects that we've seen of this type, is that they're meant to be catalysts for the area, is that right? Is this similar in philosophy?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes. Mine's unfortunately needs to leave early, so recommendations.
All right. Well, okay, so, guys, so if you understand, we have been asking you questions. Now we want to engage with you. Recommendations, feedback, back and forth. Okay? All right. 5 minutes.
Can you look at the site plan overall? Okay. So I'm not an architect, so there's no architect, taking that. My only observation was in the last project at the same time, if the middle green space, the one that we envisioned, is going to be 18 square. They have planned their amenity space on the same corridor with the thought that in the future, you never know, it could be repurposed as retail. I would disagree to evaluate that. Right now, I think we have the northeast corner. And the pool is over there, together. So maybe, you know, the other amenity centers of the south and west corner. The future maybe it's possible to, and the same thing with the units. Second thing, it looks to me as if those two buildings are function cost. But that third building, it looks like a stepchild or a second building. I don't know whether any consideration was given to moving that middle building, which has an L, with the side, that little piece, the little finger to the south, bring it closer to the other building and increase the green space in between those two buildings. If the site allows it, if the garage can accommodate and
We looked at a few different iterations of that, you know, we were kind of looking at the flow of the bus traffic itself, you know, how long is this route, you know, how much are you gonna route it around, and, yeah, I think we absolutely do.
that is the possibility to basically shift it for that space, get more inviting. And if school stays there, not only that they can put that that are along that space, then you do it in a way that they can, you know, retail looks can be, you know.
Well, and that is one thing, that's really the primary reason that building was started, yes, for the additional unit count, but it's also to frame that streetscape and to, for that, the primary flow of traffic, continue to see that urban streetscape, that flow through.
That was it.
We do have those living units that Ryan mentioned on the ground floor to give the appearance of retail and some of them could be green. They got one this there.
That's it, I don't know there.
Make it smaller.
David, what's,
Um,
would like to next speak?
I would, yeah, because I'm not actually gonna step on. I think that, it's difficult to tell really without a ground plan what's going on. I wish that was something that we had. I agree with what Faisal just said. The building person feels very scattershot, and you mentioned a couple of times that you didn't want to drop an uptown feel into this area, but if we're to understand that this is to be a catalyst, then I think that there can be a lot more done to engage the edge and make it feel like a more continuous type of project for inspiration imagery. Everything that I see here feels pretty urban, and so I think that there's a difference between appreciating the context and the vocabulary of the site and putting something in that doesn't feel like it makes sense. So I would encourage you to look at other configurations. I think that, yeah, either flipping the L so that the long side is against the street, or moving the finger to the other side to maximize that open space. It just feels like there's a lot of parking lot that's occupying that space in front facing areas that could be used much more thoughtfully. So it feels like it might benefit from another. And again, I think that we all appreciate that these are not easy projects to tackle and that you have a million different opinions to contend with. But it does, to me, feel like it's just sort of all over the place without much. You also mentioned these connections of green space, but I don't see those connections at the moment.
So currently, in response to the green space, there are sidewalks. I know it's kind of hard to see on the handout that run through that area, and also sidewalks all around it that both tie into down there on the southwest or the southeast connection point up through the site to the education center as well, and then ties up Lake June as well as through the parking station. So that was the comment on that. But we can also certainly explore that further.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And again, I really appreciate it, something like that, you know, that they saw we're moving more affordable housing, and so we understand it's a big ask. If the development feels, suburban, very suburban. We talked about density a little bit at the beginning, but it doesn't really feel dense at all. And so there might be a way to, I appreciate the effort right in front of DART where there's green space and the faces are facing each other, the buildings are facing each other. And I think that works well, but then it quickly kind of starts to dilute. The building on the south side feels very detached from the development, it almost feels like it's a different development, and I understand that how do you integrate that? It's really hard unless you're bringing some of the amenities, and that's the other thing, the south side of the development for the users, the amenities are pretty far away. So if you live in this thick south corner and you're using the pool, it's a long walk. And so we were talking about connections and sidewalks. The current master plan doesn't quite show the emphasis on those connections, and so maybe that's something that your team can start looking at and make them with the neighborhood, and not just a sidewalk that is functional, but it feels more intentional.
That's fair. I think, and maybe it's a focus that we could be in, but I think the dark, focus and the streetscape that company that really kind of drove some of the placement of the building, the shapes of the building. We actually had a version where we flipped the L, the station, and it's kind of hard to sort of.
It's hard because do you face the street and conform that street, or do you face the other building which is doing something good too? Maybe it's a U building, some of those units. We're trying to figure out a way where that bar kind of moves up and becomes part of that second building so that they're not so far away.
And, we thought about obviously having a U-shaped building there, then the parking lot gets drawn away from it, the parking sort of gets
I get
put on this corner of the site, which we realize now is a different issue of walking your groceries from the parking lot to your, to your unit. So it's, part of it is that greasy cutting through and the dark loop going through creates some unique challenges. We think we've done a pretty good job of providing different scales for different, residents. And, to a couple of comments as far as the, it's an urban plan with a more residential aesthetic is what we were kind of after. You can see the elevations are still hip roofs, still, an upscale, what we call a walk aquatic type aesthetic, but it's a urban plan. So it's a wrap still, and it's still a transitory development, but we think it's gonna have a very strong streetscape.
The, one small thing is that I think you have parallel parking between the second building and the townhomes, right?
Yes, correct.
It would be great if you can do the same thing as the street moves up. I know street parking right next to the leasing center, but the perpendicular parking doesn't make that street feel as walkable as the parallel does.
Are you referring to the one that's closest to the Dart station?
No, at the north corner.
Oh, at least, okay.
I think it's one.
And then generally, and I understand that this is a very preliminary, kind of more block diagram of what you mentioned, but right now, when you look at that master plan, the main event is that entrance to the garage. It looks very prominent. And so the challenge is how do we make sure that the pedestrian entrance and the visitor entrance is the one that is.
Sure.
Thank you, Lily. Like,
I'm sorry, Dr.
what about around here? Thank you.
Okay, great. I agree with all of this. Yeah, I feel like you need one more trade paper overlay and you go through the fact marker, the organization of the elements of it. I agree with Ms. Connors. I think you're doing great, but I want to see a bit more of organization, the uses, connectivity of green space. We can go back, please, and look at that lower end. Trees. I tried to sketch over what's shown in Google Earth, and I looked at it today, and I it's an area, but it appears to bleed out quite a bit. In fact, I think that lower building, everybody's talking about so much, it's looks like about a third of it or a fourth maybe sitting on that. That's true. And then, on the bus, back to my question about the bus circulation. If that upper building could hold closer to the street, it doesn't like to make that much street or two there. But certainly more, bring it closer to the street, but then also, if you're not going to offer a stop, not to say that there might be in the future, is there a way to simplify the bus circulation? So I'd love to see the stop, if we're going to circulate through, it'd be nice if you could live in a town hall and have a bus stop on the corner. Close to having still lost that traffic.
Yeah, so we could be at Fox, bus circulation, at one point we had buses being down the side of the second dark spot.
If they go, yeah, I was gonna ask if the
Yeah.
discussion about it is.
Yeah, dark now for going around through the south, so that's why I asked if we should put it.
Because that ties directly into the neighborhood.
Yeah, it goes through the neighborhood, so,
I'm sorry, Ms. Alves, if you have to say it. The dark didn't want one.
So they didn't want the access, their bus to ultimately come through here on the Plain South, and that's
Oh.
where we have emergency access only.
Okay.
yeah.
And one of the concerns of the residents when we met with the councilman is not driving additional traffic through their neighborhood.
Yeah, there's a public street. So this is the DISP property, and then there's a public street with homes, single family here, that dead ends. And the council member does not want any active vehicles moving between. So we do have right of way here, so that's why they're showing, emergency access only and a pedestrian connection.
Yeah. We always deal with that, if there's a stop there, certainly that might encourage more ridership, but those
we did explore it, we did having down in front of the street, in front of Lake June, you know, to create more of a presence of, you know, architecture right at the front, you know, but there's already an existing park there, you know, and so some of that is, you know, like, dealing with what we have is, you know, it's nice, wide areas, and it's already there. So there's some green spaces that we want to keep as part of the approach. It also worked really well with the bus turn, you know, and so great. So we started right there.
In one of the comments we were sleeping when we had the times along, somebody said buses turning right there, it may not be advantageous to have bus traffic there as well as.
Yeah, because it looks like you could, if you could exit there, you know, buses continue all the way down to some major thoroughfare, south. Is that, then you could connect up. It's labeled G&J Learning Center. That north south is Xfinity.
Yeah. Thank you, please. Okay, yeah, first as always, for projects like this, thank y'all for taking it on. I think it's exciting, but it's tricky. And it's exciting to me in a lot of ways. You know, what we read off when we started out was it's, you know, it's at a specific junction of several transformational projects, from food trail to the Trinity Forest. You're right kind of at the center of town. And that gives you, I think, opportunities and responsibilities to continue to do transformational work other than just changing a use from paid parking to residential. I think it has to send a different signal to the entire community, the neighborhood, and others who might develop here or in this part of town. So you have both an opportunity and a responsibility here. I think we've got, you know, we're looking at a pretty early stage. A lot of, you know, you'll hear it, we can get down into water retention and location of trash and stuff like that. We're not doing that here in the county today. So the comments I have is pretty high level. The first thing I thought of, I'm gonna kind of treat it looking for everybody else. Man, I hate that bus. If I realized that was there, when the traffic was here, I would brag on it. But I may do it later. But, you know, in that regard, it's going to have a little later here. I mean, I know they thought, well, I don't know what looping them out to the garden means, but couldn't we at least loop this building and come back out so that the loop goes around one building and not through the entire stinking complex? That seems, yeah, we talk urban environments here, but that's, you know, and yes, urban streets have buses, but that doesn't look like, even in plan, that doesn't look like any kind of urban street to me, especially if your garage is emptying into it right there. I would think Kodak continue to look at options to separate them from Kevin said. Yeah, right here. I was saying, what is it here? And what is that?
These guys get up, they had a little swinging loop at the end, but I agree with not that kind of thing with that.
But you know, he turned the pipe pan again upon.
But definitely try and encourage Darby to go two-way along the platform instead of going back through and say.
Here you're, what I was thinking, you know, here you can move the building over, put a lane around it, and loop one building. We've got to do it, and that's a pretty comfortable, that's a pretty comfortable loop there for a bus, and then bring it back in here. So bring it around it. I think getting stuff out of the bus is benefit the overall.
I think maybe it's get gas free for us. That would be great. We wanted the same thing.
Yeah, for sure.
That is the real route today, and the direction we had gone was.
Problem is, he's been doing that job very long. He's just like me. Problem is, but yeah, that was
that would be a benefit for ton of record, I think multiple times. Right. And so what I'm hearing is we're looking for some kind of an urban street thing here, but also a residential scale and blending or compatibility with the surrounding one-story neighborhood. Let's go to the elevation. Good. See, I don't see any of it. I'm afraid, and this early, but that looks like, I go down Ross Avenue, that sure looks like a bunch of apartment complexes on Ross Avenue right now. And frankly, guys, and I'm not taking anybody's stuff, I don't know your work, and I hear a lot of sort of discontent about modern apartment design, multifamily design, gives the podium product, things like this, that, you know, that it's what the decision we're having to make, but the costs are narrowing potential options. And probably that's gonna happen anywhere, it's gonna happen here. But I think, you know, again, you know, if what I heard is that, you know, some locations, this right here can be retail or residential, I'd say right now it's neither. It's like an apartment. There's no articulation of the ground floor, which is very common in traditional retail. You know, if you retail and residential are different. If we got something you think is either or, I think maybe it's neither. I think a different approach to that element would be important. I think, you know, I did hear specifically hip roofs like houses do. That hip roof is only going to be visible in the front shot. If you're on the ground, you're driving through here, that will be a flat edge, just like any other flat roof. So I don't think you're going to get that benefit that you're asking for there. I would just, and again, certainly recognize, but I say these things to illustrate that I think you got an opportunity here, knowing financial restrictions. You've seen this the third one that they that's a big concern each time. But you have an opportunity here to come up with something new. What we're doing is new. And I think the architectural response, third dimensional response, needs to be new too. And I'm not going to belabor the plan issues. I think the plan concerns that everybody else has, I would reflect also. But I think our architect's third dimension here, there you got a lot going on. Grass can do a lot of things in the relative area, and I think it's going to want to be a design product that you probably have done yet. And we would hope to see that here. We hope this to be as transformational architecturally from an urban design standpoint as the opportunity is. With that, that's my comments.
Thank you, Lord. I want to repeat, but I can remember Norman's last words. I want this to be transformational from a urban design standpoint. Did I get you?
Mm-hmm.
I feel the same way. I think you can feel the same way, and I suspect you guys feel the same. So first of all, reiterating the praise that you received from many of us. Thank you for tackling this. We know it's not easy. We know it's a long road. We know that the bureaucracy is there for you to deal with. We understand all that. So thank you for being stubborn and sticking to it. Having said all that, we believe that the common sentiment here is that this can be better. And that is the purpose of our session today, to provide you with feedback, fresh set of eyes, fresh set of perspectives from people who are not in the process and therefore can be critical without being negative about it. So this is the time to test every possible iteration. I know that you guys have tested many, but I think we believe that there's still progress to be made. Sure.
We appreciate the feedback.
Thank you. To help along the rules, and hoping to summarize or to simplify, organize comments that you receive, I suggest 5 diagrams. I would like to see 5 diagrams. I'm asking you to come back. And that's okay. Sometimes projects come back 2 or 3 times, and they get better. I would ask for 5 diagrams. The first diagram is a speaker ground diagram, black and white. Start with what you have, and then reflect on what you have. Does it work? That's for you, Anish.
Got it.
I suspect you are going to look at the figure ground diagram, and you're going to go, I think I can tweak these and these and that, and sure. Second diagram is a street network diagram with hierarchy. Not every road here inside your land is the same. Start with outside streets. And by the way, Kevin, we heard a comment from a councilman who doesn't want that street to be open to traffic. We would like to override that. That's a public street that should be open to you and me, because there are 6 homes on that street that like the way it is now. I'm sorry, it's a public street. We are all paying taxes, and that street should be part of the street network on the city. And that will improve this development and will enlighten the neighborhood. No worries, that street is not going to have 10,000 cars a day. Never, ever. It will have a few dozen more cars a day, and that's fine. That's good. So we would support you and the planning department and the economic development department.
Staff is hearing that. Thank
Very
you.
good. So, you're going to sign here the panel supports that recommendation. So, that's the second diagram, a street network diagram. 60 streets plus what we have inside. And that from that diagram, once again, you look at it, is it clear, is it logical? I'm not sure that it is, I suspect it's not logical right now. The third diagram is a common/green space diagram. Not every common space is green, some are not. That's why I say common and green space diagram. Where are they located? How are they distributed over the site? Are they connected? Are they not? They don't have to be all connected. If not, why not? If they are connected, how are they connected? So that's the third diagram. The fourth diagram is sort of overlaps with the previous diagram that I'm asking for, the common green space diagram. The fourth diagram is a public, semi-public, and semi-private space diagram, which again is not the same. You may have a common space that is on the semi-private territory, and you can have a common space that is on the very much public side. Absolutely. So those are different things. And finally, as James already requested, and you guys are going to do anyway, the existing trees survey. When you overlay all that, I suspect you are going to come up with a different site plan. That's what we're zeroing right now. The site plan can be good. Our building that sits in the middle of a parking lot, an L building that opens to a parking lot and to an alley. I'm sorry guys, it can be better, and we want to give you time to refine the policy. We know you have met with the neighborhood and with other groups. When we get to the right plan, we will support you. We are going on record supporting you. We can't legislate, that's not what this panel does, but we can go on record supporting right work, the right approach, and that has its own way. That's very awesome. Yeah, is it fair?
Yeah, we are absolutely here to help you guys. I mean, as I listen to everybody talk, what the thought that comes to mind at a high level conceptual, it feels like a big bus circulator that happens to have a residential in it, opposed to a good residential plan that says that it's attractive, sustainable, that's going to be a true set of things that has good bus circulation connectivity. Vehicular pedestrian, all of us. So we absolutely, I think, can help tell that story to anybody.
Yeah.
You know, Dar, and you got a lot of partners here, we completely recognize that. But I think if you can think about it more conceptually, go through the diagram of telling that story, just like Rico's articulated so well.
Norman, James, the only two left.
We're good.
Anything else from you, anything else from work?
Did, yes. Okay. I'll try to I'm trying to capture what they said.
Sure.
I can tell everybody more. So here are the recommendations. Number one, the panel recommends that common space and amenity space be relocated to face the central green space to help activate that space and allow for future retail space conversion if it becomes feasible. Number two, the panel advises the bar building be flipped across the dark bus route or other reconfiguration options be studied to better engage the edge, help buffer the surface parking and maximize open space connectivity and opportunities to enhance them. Number three, the panel believes the development feels a bit suburban, recommends that the south side of the development suburban, the south side of the development seems disconnected, feels less urban, and should be more thoughtful and have connections to residents and families, amenities, and access more conveniently. Reword that one a little bit. Before the panel advises parallel parking be created to allow for a more walkable environment than the perpendicular parking allows for today. Number five, the panel advises the main entry to the garage be studied and designed to be a less prominent feature and instead continue a more urban relationship with the public space and sidewalk. Number six, the panel recommends the detention pond be located to save the existing tree growth on the south side of the site. Number seven, the panel advises a new bus stop be considered near the proposed townhome development to encourage more convenient ridership for future residents. Number eight, the panel advises that opportunities and responsibilities the panel advises options for the dark loop be reconsidered to help advance a more urban and livable environment. Number nine, the panel recommends that activation of the ground floor be considered to reveal live work uses and potential future conversion to retail in certain areas. Number 10, the panel advises that the architectural three-dimension design of the multifamily component be transformational from an urban articulation, roof and massing standpoint, and that it be explored to improve its overall success and set the standard for the area. And lastly, the panel recommends 5 diagrams be provided, one being figure ground, 2 street network diagram with hierarchy that includes a true vehicular connection to the residential neighborhood to the southeast, 3 common green space diagram, 4 public, semi-public, and semi-private diagram, and lastly, existing tree survey to help explore the opportunities that may arise in making a better overall project.
Can I have one articulate on, and that is, continued study of mix of location of structured parking and surface parking with the goal of freeing up more community increase.
Got that. Okay.
Okay.
That's how important geographic site plan, you view the connection to the elementary school.
Oh, yes.
Is that?
Yes.
That's the garage, if we could, for your comment, the garage to be south, and that obviously.
So that's a significant point there, and we didn't make it either. Yes, don't. Let me ask a question. I'm not sure I understand. How many elementary school kids pull up on Dark Train to go there? I mean, what's driving the notion that we've got to tie those two things together?
I think it was a comment we got from our work sessions, but there's neighborhood beyond the school, so it seemed like a natural point of entry from the school, which with residents.
Well, they're coming through the school grounds to get on the Dark Train?
It seems like a natural connection.
We're also thinking more in terms of staff and,
Teachers.
teachers.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, that would be good. That really an organizational point for the entire.
Yeah, that's a good comment, Norm, is we asked them to just make sure there was connectivity and clear connectivity.
Yeah.
But they're making it
It's a big.
they're featuring it, and I don't know if that's.
I'm not sure if that's priority.
Let me try to present that. This is the public school. Okay, you know, the front door of the school is, look, we have a vertical here on the board. We will have connecting point over here. We have a station, so 1, 2, 3, and that's 4. This, granted, how many kids will be coming from here to there? Don't know, maybe 6, maybe 60, don't know, but nothing else around the edge of the property here has the same significance as the front door of the school. So mirroring that front door of the school, either with a building that is similar, or with a gate, or with a threshold, or with an axis that is open and extends that presence of the school, I think it's a good thing. It's part of knitting the thing together, knitting the new and the existing together. Even if from a strictly disability standpoint, how many kids don't know, but from a perception standpoint, I think it has its value. Don't know if my defense is effective, but that's not very. Not my understanding.
It's a little bit we had, you know, really, and instead of going obviously off the June, which made it very, you know, like the connection to a neighborhood, adjacent to our site is very important, you know, that's.
Yeah.
Closest connection point that makes sense.
I think the connection from the front of the school to your development is a good thing that needs to be done. I'm not sure it needs to cross the bus right there. I think tying, turning it into a green space all the way, maybe a little bit more effort into that connection than it deserves. If that gives you an opportunity to move some other things around and break up that way. For instance, I didn't do that with the original intention of putting the garage right here on the one end, but it would make that possible if that was something I wanted to do.
Even if you, a second, third deck connection, could be a nice shade and.
Yeah.
As long as it's slide and you know, open, I think it could be a wall, I agree. It's at DISD. Yes. Yeah, so that, I mean, long term, that could be a bigger school one day, right? So I mean, I think connection support, I'm not sure if they spine all.
I guess one thing I'd like to add as it relates to some general family product related to affordable housing in general, is we do tend to see those be more family oriented with younger small kids.
Right. Yeah, not saying turn your back on the school, don't turn your back on the school. In fact, that might be a great place to move some things around and develop more green space all along that connection.
Well, even down to the retention area, that could be a nice little, I know my daughter does that, for the walks. You got an amenity there.
Yeah, just, school training station, just not sure those are matched pieces and they're heavily connected. Well, maybe a high school, but.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all for your time.
Well, good luck.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
What?
Great.